These guys saw him withdraw a bunch of cash, so they decided to pounce. This poor girl had her home robbed and was under pressure to open the safe. This girl was just minding her own business when all of a sudden she was hit. And this girl was just working her job when she unfortunately was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Let's get right to the scariest crimes that can happen to me or you. Starting with number 6, lock all car doors. What started as a routine truck purchase quickly escalated into a high-speed chase and a dramatic crash when Raymond, Pouncy, and Reginald Chatman swiped nearly $50,000 from an unlocked car, leaving cash scattered across the street as they tried to escape. Pouncy and Chatman watched as some unnamed guy and his son withdrew $50,000 in cash from a bank in Glendale, Arizona, to go buy a truck. Surveillance footage caught Pouncy and Chatman trailing them as they left, keeping their distance so they wouldn't get noticed. The victim and his son had no idea they were being followed as they casually drove over to the seller's house. When they arrived, they parked out front and got out to check out the truck, which was still in the garage. So they just left the cash sitting inside the car, which, fair enough, they weren't about to walk around holding that much cash. But while they were waiting for the seller to move another car so he could bring out the truck, the seller suddenly noticed something off. He saw Pouncy and Chatman pull up next to their car, watch someone get into the car, grab something, and then bolt. And he was like, "Hey, that car just took something." The victims turned around and realized, yep, they left the car unlocked. And just like that, Pouncy and Chatman had an easy grab. They snatched the cash and sped off. But rather than wait for police, the victim and his son jumped into their vehicle and chased the suspects, calling 911 in the process. Glendale's traffic cameras captured the suspects speeding through intersections before crashing into a trailer at a busy intersection. At the crash site, witnesses reported seeing cash scattered across the street. Footage from body cameras showed one suspect grabbing a backpack from the wrecked car and trying to escape on foot, with the victim chasing after him. When the victim caught up, the suspect insisted he had done nothing wrong and agreed to wait for the police, despite literally just having tried to run away with the cash. Meanwhile, the second suspect ran in a different direction, but was pursued by what appeared to be the truck's seller, who's apparently a pretty good guy. Police arrived with firearms drawn and ordered the man to lie on the ground. He complied and was taken into custody without further incident. A search of the car recovered roughly $47,000 in cash, but roughly $3,000 was missing. Both Pouncy and Chatman were booked in Maricopa County Jail on charges of third-degree burglary and theft. And wouldn't you know it, they both had priors. While the suspects were caught and most of the money was recovered, leaving $50,000 in an unlocked car was dumb. Sure, the car was nearby, and the chances of this happening seemed low, but if it had a key fob, which it probably did, why not just lock it? It takes almost zero effort. What's even crazier is that they chased these guys down and actually caught them. That could have ended badly if the thieves were armed. But with that much cash stolen, what do you do? Just let them go? In the end, they got most of it back, minus a $3,000 lesson in locking the car. The real takeaway here is that if you're carrying a lot of cash from the bank, be aware of your surroundings. Criminals watch for opportunities, so don't make it easy on them. And by the way, don't forget to click that subscribe button and make sure you also click the bell to turn on all notifications so you don't miss any critical knowledge to defend yourself. Number 5, keeping safe. In a wealthy area of the UK, 2 masked men posing as police officers forced their way into the home of Kerry Aitchison and her daughter Emily. The intruders, Ashley Fulton and Aaron Evans, made it clear they wouldn't leave without the valuables they came for, locked away in a safe. But when they demanded the safe code, Emily's response sent the entire situation spiraling out of control. After dragging Emily by her hair, the robbers demanded access to a safe, warning they would go after her mother if she didn't comply. Refusing to give in, Emily deliberately entered the wrong code twice before claiming a third attempt would trigger an alarm. It was a bluff, a risky one, but it worked. Panicked, the intruders fled after locking both women in a bathroom. Before leaving, they stole over 200,000 pounds worth of luxury items, including watches, handbags, jewelry, cash, and mobile phones. Police quickly identified Fulton and Evans due to multiple mistakes. Their getaway car, caught on CCTV, was traced to Fulton's address, and DNA was found on vapes left inside. Phone records also revealed Fulton had searched for the exact model of a stolen Patek Philippe watch just hours after the crime. Investigators linked him to online purchases of fake police IDs, which had been used in the heist. Fulton was a repeat offender and was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 9 years and 192 days. His accomplice Evans was sentenced to 16 years. The psychological toll was severe. Kerry described their home as a crime scene rather than a sanctuary, while Emily suffered panic attacks and couldn't leave the house for weeks. Both women testified in court, frustrated that criminals with extensive records were free to reoffend. No matter how sloppy the plan was, it still worked. Most people wouldn't think twice about opening the door for someone claiming to be a cop, and that's what makes it scary. Emily's gamble paid off, but it just as easily could have gone the other way. The robbers still got away with the stolen goods, none of which were recovered. And if they had been angrier, more unstable, or simply unwilling to cut their losses, the outcome could have been even worse for two women alone in a house. It's easy to admire people fighting back, but actions are judged by their results, not how they make us feel. Emily didn't outsmart them, she just got lucky. The takeaway is to avoid these situations in the first place. Don't assume someone at your door is who they claim to be. A video doorbell, such as a Ring camera, puts a barrier between you and whoever's outside. And that barrier might be the only thing keeping a bad situation from turning worse. Number 4. Unprovoked on site. Philadelphia had a deranged woman who had been going after young college students at random in Center City. One girl came forward after her unprovoked incident, only to realize she wasn't the only one. Investigators pieced together a pattern of these unprovoked events around the city. One of the victims, a 23-year-old Villanova University student named Hannah, was riding the train when a woman suddenly went after her, slamming her head into a glass panel while yelling at her to leave. The incident happened in front of a full train of passengers, but unfortunately, no one intervened. Hannah left the scene, but managed to take a clear photo of the woman. Authorities also looked into a similar incident that occurred the same day nearby. A UPenn student was punched in the face, leaving her with a broken nose and shattered glasses. After seeing news coverage, Hannah realized that she was the same woman. Both of them spoke out to raise awareness and encourage others to stay vigilant. The scary thing about these incidents is how random and unpredictable they were. While substance misuse and mental instability are the likely culprit for this crazy lady, who was probably just tweaking and was never caught, that doesn't really make it any less disturbing. The idea that you could be sitting on a train, minding your own business, then abruptly fighting for your life is unsettling. Randomness doesn't need to have a reason. You don't have to do anything to become a target other than just being there. The only thing you can do is stay aware and be prepared whenever you're in an unfamiliar environment around seemingly unstable people. Number 3. The unscrupulous handyman. Lewis Blake made a living installing window shutters. At least, that's what his customers thought. Nearly 90 people paid him deposits, expecting their homes to be upgraded. But Blake never came back to finish the job. Instead, he took their money and spent over $125,000 gambling, plus another $17,000 on naughty websites. That's a lot, right? $17,000. This guy must spend all of his time. Yeah. Lewis Blake, a 43-year-old window shutter installer from the UK, took deposits totaling almost $80,000 from his customers. Blake's victims, who had initially found him polite and professional, realized they had been scammed when he repeatedly failed to return to complete their orders. He always blamed shipping delays and the pandemic, but police later discovered that he had only ever actually ordered 14 shutters over a 3-year period to begin with. After multiple victims reported him to the police and formed a social media group to share their experiences, Blake finally admitted to fraud. Blake claimed he had underpriced his services and tried to gamble his way out of trouble, which, even if it were true, has never worked for anyone. Ever. Of course, the excuse was quickly rejected, and Blake was sentenced to 18 months in prison and banned from serving as a company director for 7 years. Many victims never saw their money again, and authorities made it clear Blake had no right to gamble with their trust. Blake's scam wasn't anything new. It's one of the oldest tricks in this scammy contractor playbook. Take the money, make some excuses, then disappear. We've all either experienced this or know someone who has. And yet, people still fall for it because they trust a friendly face and a good pitch. The best way to avoid getting burned? Never pay up front. Make sure the job's done first, then hand over the cash. Number 2, free party risks. Miami Beach police arrested a couple guys accused of scamming unsuspecting victims by using their phones to steal money. James Plitzis and Michael Martin allegedly posed as club promoters and performers to trick people into handing over their unlocked phones, later transferring large sums from payment apps such as Venmo and Zelle. Authorities say Plitzis has a history of such scams, with multiple incidents reported. In one case, he convinced a woman to follow his Instagram, only to drain $1,200 from her Venmo. Another tourist, approached by Plitzis and an accomplice while reading a book on the beach, lost $1,500 after they secretly accessed her Chase account while pretending to add nightclub promotions. When she questioned them, they quickly returned her phone and fled. Police linked Plitzis to additional thefts, with one victim losing $3,500. Investigators say the scammers target tourists who are less familiar with local crime trends, making them more susceptible to deception. By the time victims realized what happened, the scammers had already disappeared. Miami Beach officials warn residents and visitors not to give their phones to strangers under any circumstances. The scheme involves criminals distracting victims while they gain access to financial apps, often by adding new payees or changing account passwords. The arrests come amid an increase in thefts during the holiday season as scammers take advantage of busy crowds. As of the release of this video, Plitzis remains in custody due to a nebia hold, which requires him to prove that his bail money comes from legitimate sources before being released, while Martin has bonded out. Both face charges of grand theft and organized fraud. Authorities urge any additional victims to come forward and report suspicious activity. In today's digital age, where financial transactions happen in seconds, safeguarding your money is more important than ever. Always ensure that Face ID, fingerprint authentication, or strong passcode is required to access any banking or payment app. A moment of trust with the wrong person can cost thousands, but a simple security measure can stop a scam before it starts. Number 1, the unfortunate stray. A tragic incident at the Pier Bar in Remerton, Georgia, led to the arrests of Sion Clayton and Kimone Green, who are accused of being responsible for the passing of 21-year-old Brianna Long. Long was closing up the bar one night when a fight broke out outside, leading to firearms being discharged. A stray round went into the bar and hit Long, ending her life. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation identified Sion Clayton and Kimone Green as the suspects. Both men, already in custody for unrelated offenses, were formally charged with malice-related crimes. Investigators believe they were in the area targeting another individual in connection to an ongoing gang dispute when everything hit the fan. In addition to Long, a co-worker was also injured, and several vehicles outside the bar were struck by stray rounds. Investigators believe Clayton and Green, both alleged members of the Regional 528 gang, were in the area targeting someone connected to an ongoing dispute, leaving Long caught in the middle of something that had nothing to do with her. After more than a year of investigation, authorities identified Clayton and Green as the primary suspects and issued arrest warrants. One was already in custody in Georgia, while the other was being held in Florida. As of the release of this video, the case remains active, and additional charges are expected as legal proceedings move forward. Long's tragic passing shocked the community. A former standout soccer player at Paulding County High School, she was recognized as a Positive Athlete Georgia Regional winner out of thousands of nominees. She had been pursuing a degree in dental hygiene and was set to graduate in 2024. Following the arrests, Long's mother, Brandy Spinks, expressed the family's ongoing grief and asked for prayers. She described her daughter as a dedicated student and athlete full of life and ambition. Spinks has since established the Brianna Long Foundation, a charitable organization focused on improving access to dental care for underserved communities. As the case progresses, prosecutors have identified gang-related activity as a key factor in the events that led to Long's passing. Their arrests are part of a broader effort to dismantle the gang, with prosecutors indicting 7 members in connection to nearly 100 crimes across Georgia and Florida. Authorities expect additional charges as the investigation continues, but no legal outcome can undo what happened that night. It's a sad and scary reality. Someone just doing their job, finishing up a shift, not realizing they've been pulled into something far beyond their control. A petty dispute between people she never met or had anything to do with led to a reckless act that took everything from her. We wish we had some kind of advice to offer here, but we don't. Tragedy can happen anytime, for any reason, and there's no defense to bad luck. So hug your loved ones and let them know you cherish them, because tomorrow is never promised. Click to watch one of these next videos.